what is a network? Well, a network is something that we all take for granted and don't really think about, unless you're someone like me who's a bit of a geek and likes to understand how networks work. But you'll get your phone connected to Wi-Fi and happily go scrolling through Facebook or on that platform that I just cannot seem to accept. But what's going on in the background? What's enabling my device to connect to my Sonos player or screen share to my TV or even allow me to go and scroll through Facebook? What's happening to allow that communication? Well, let's go take a look.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
There are 4 primary types of networks. You've got a personal area network, or PAN, a local area network, LAN, a metropolitan area network, MAN, and a wide area network, WAN. There are also nanoscale networks, body area networks, or BAN. There's WLAN, which is wireless local area network, CAN, which is a campus area network, and there's RAN, which is radio area networks. Let's start with PAN, the personal area network.
I remember when I was at school, they treated me like I was a fool, punished me for trying to act cool.
Remember in school that one student had that ringtone on their phone or a funny video and you wanted it? You'd line your phones up and they would send the content over infrared, and you'd hope you'd have enough time left on your lunch break because it would take an age to send over. You might not have known it, but you were using a personal area network. I think I had a Nokia 6320. Leave a comment on what phone you had with infrared back in the day.
It's whatever you want, however.
PANs date back to the 1990s and cover reasonably small distances, which allows devices to communicate directly to one another via wireless and even wide connections without the need for a router or any network infrastructure. They're considered to be an ad hoc network and are set up and torn down on the fly. After infrared communication came Bluetooth, and phones started to adopt Bluetooth technology to transfer data between them. Transfers of media became faster and bigger files were being sent between devices. Bluetooth is still in use this day. When you connect your phone to your car or play music to your Bluetooth speaker, all are considered as a PAN. Even when you use an IoT device, it may ask to connect to Bluetooth first and start an initial setup. Also, a common PAN these days is AirDrop. You might have seen videos of people sending pictures or funny sounds to an aeroplane full of other people with AirDrop enabled.
Almost didn't make it off the ground because someone kept airdropping nude photos picked up by the pilot's phone. Take a listen.
So here's the deal. This continues while we're on the ground. I'm going to have to pull back to the gate. Everybody's going to have to get off. We're going to have to get security involved. And it's vacation that's going to be ruined. So you folks, whatever that airdrop thing is, quit sending naked pictures. Let's get yourself to a combo.
The phone is establishing a device-to-device communication without the need for a router. So although PAN may have some feel of nostalgia and even humour, it's still an important method of communication that's still used today. Next we move on to LAN, the local area network, which is usually found in a home or an office or even a commercial environment, and is designed to allow hosts on the network to communicate with one another and share any data and access resources such as a server or a printer. LAN was first introduced between the very late 60s and early 70s when there was a need for interconnectivity between computer systems in a local environment. There were some experimental networks developed, and eventually in 1973 the Ethernet standard was developed, which allowed for a reliable and at the time fast connection between hosts on a network. A couple of years later, another LAN technology was developed, ArcNet, which used a coaxial cable to connect host devices. Because local networks grew and required faster communication, Ethernet was favoured as ArcNet had a maximum speed of around 2.5 megabits per second. Ethernet also originally used coaxial cable as its physical medium, but offered faster speeds of 10 megabits per second, which nowadays the Ethernet standard can reach speeds of 100 gigabits per second and even surpass that by using fibre optic infrastructures. In a nutshell, a LAN is a private network consisting of private addresses owned by a single entity, be that a home or a business owner. Devices inside the LAN can communicate with each other unless placed in a VLAN, which is a branch off a local area network, but still does have some means of communication. I've got a dedicated video on VLANs should you wish to know more. Most of the time, LANs will utilise a copper cabling infrastructure using Cat5e, Cat6 or Cat6a cabling, but more and more single mode and multi-mode fibre is being installed into LAN to allow high throughput speeds on the network. With a LAN, you can size up or size down a network depending on the application. I've got another video on supernetting and subnetting if you're interested in checking that one out. A local area network does not go out to the internet, as private class A, B and C addresses are not publicly routable. To get out to the internet, private IP addresses are changed to a publicly routable IP address using network address translation in the router and sent out the WAN, the wide area network. Now, before I go on to WAN, there is another network type in between LAN and WAN, and that is MAN, a Metropolitan Area Network. A Metropolitan Area Network, or MAN, is another type of private network similar to LAN. However, it's usually scaled across a bigger area rather than a single location. An example being a business having 2 offices in one city and require higher transfer speeds than what can be provided over the internet, and need to be able to access resources or share data across this network as if sitting on the LAN together. These 2 locations would be linked via a physical or wireless connection, a fibre cable or a copper cable depending on the distance, or even wireless RF links between 2 locations. Each location would then each have a router, and that would be configured to link the 2 sites together and provide that speed that Ethernet is capable of providing. Then we have the Wide Area Network, or WAN. This is a network on the other side of our router's local area network and covers large geographical areas, whether it's countries or even continents. One of the primary purposes of a WAN is to allow networks such as local area networks, metropolitan area networks, and even radio area networks access to the internet. Although WAN is a relation to the internet, they're not exactly the same thing. The internet is a complex global network infrastructure made up of many components and provides many services such as website access, email, online storage, music streaming, and so much more. If you browse Facebook on your home Wi-Fi, the connection is going out to the internet via the LAN, then the WAN. WAN, although seen to be the internet, is a method to connect local networks to the services the internet provides. WAN uses similar connection methods as LAN, such as fibre optic cabling, copper cabling, but can also use satellite to cover over great distances. The most common method for us to be able to connect to the wide area network from our local area network is via an internet service provider, or ISP. There are hundreds of ISPs, the main ones in the UK being Sky, BT and Virgin, and they provide the connection out to the public internet. The ISP assigns a unique public routable IP address to their customers, whether that's an IPv4 or IPv6 address. Due to the IPv4 public address space depletion, methods to overcome this were created and include NAT and PAT, which you can see a full explanation of here. IPv6 doesn't have this problem of address exhaustion. When you request a web page or a resource, your router translates your private IP address on the LAN to a public IP address, which can then communicate across the wide area network. Physically, the ISP would send you out their router and you throw that in the bin and install your much more superior third-party router in your home or your business. However, some third-party routers require a modem or ISP router in some form of bridge mode, or placing the third-party router within a DMZ host to connect to the WAN. Anyway, a copper connection would usually come out of your phone line master socket from the roadside cabinet and into a modem or a router and give you WAN access, therefore connections to internet services. And if you're watching this in 2026 and beyond, that piece of information will be a bit of history, as the UK is planning to switch everyone over to fibre to the property, making copper cable infrastructure redundant or used for another purpose. So I'm going to say that statement again, but in the past tense to cover all different time dimensions. It used to be pre-2026 that you would take a copper connection out of the master socket in your home and connect it to a modem or router to gain access to the wide area network. If you have a fibre line coming direct to the property known as FTTP, fibre to the property, using PON or passive optical network, then you would have a small box installed called an ONT or optical network terminal. This is a bit like a media converter in the way that it converts optical signals into electrical signals and connects to the router. This is how ISPs will be providing the majority of leased lines to their customers. Anyway, wide area networks are used to make connections over large scale geographic areas and is what allows us to access resources out on the internet. Those are the four main types of network: a PAN, personal area network; a LAN, a local area network; a MAN, a metropolitan area network; and a WAN, a wide area network. There's a few other types of networks I'm not going to spend too much time on, but you've got a nanoscale network, you've got a BAN, a body area network, you've got a WLAN, which is a wireless local area network, you've got a CAN, which is a campus area network, and you've got a RAN, which is a radio area network. A nano network consists of devices that are extremely small. On a nanoscale, they're usually found in environments such as medical, science, or mechanical. Nanoscale networks are still being developed and researched. A body area network is a little bit more common. These networks monitor the human body, and these can be wearable or implantable devices. Wearable devices such as smartwatches using apps, or a Fitbit, which monitor the body's performance such as steps taken, heart rate, and even sleeping patterns, which would then provide a report to the user to track their progress. Other examples of a BAN could be devices such as pacemakers, which are monitoring the body functions and will activate when necessary. Also, cochlear implants are considered to be a BAN, as they're implanted in the body to assist in allowing the user to hear. A wireless local area network is part of the local area network, but allows local hosts such as phones and laptops to connect to the local area network wirelessly via access points or a router that has an access point built in. A campus area network is used to connect buildings or complexes within a specific area, say a university campus that may have multiple buildings and requires interconnectivity between those points. You could say it's similar as a metropolitan area network, but on a smaller scale. And then finally we have RAN, a radio area network, and is quite an important network type, especially in the present day, as this provides wireless connectivity to devices such as smartphones or tablets around the world. RAN provides geographical area coverage by using base stations. These are the towers you might see dotted around and have many antennas on them. These towers provide the wireless connectivity for 3G, 4G and 5G devices. RAN provides mobile device access to the wide area network and thus access to the internet. And that there is an overview of the different types of networks. Thank you very much for watching.